We are back with another edition of Mock Draft Mondays, and this time Matt is in the hot seat, and we're shoring things up, going with the 10-man lead this time on today's action-packed episode of Locked On Fantasy Baseball.
You are Locked On Fantasy Baseball, your daily fantasy baseball podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, fantasy baseball fanatics, and welcome to the Locked On Fantasy Baseball podcast, brought to you by the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. As always, we're your number one source of fantasy baseball knowledge, and thank you for making us your first listen each and every day. I'm your host, Dominic Martino. You can find me on Twitter at DomMartinoFB. Here, as always, with my brother, my co-host, my partner in crime, Matthew Ane, and you can find him on Twitter at Matthew_Ane. If you're watching on YouTube and you haven't already, hit that little bell below. It will subscribe you to the channel and give you notifications every time we drop a new episode. Or if you're listening on the audio side of things on a platform like Apple or Spotify that allows 5-star ratings and reviews, we would truly appreciate it if you could do that for us. And guys, I've been stressing it, but it's truly what's most important to Matt and I and to you guys this time of year. Give us a chance on the Subtext platform. Through Subtext, it's an in-depth, personalized experience. Through text messaging alerts that you're going to get right to your phone, offering so much more than we can in these 30-minute episodes. And this time of year, you're going to get our 2025 rankings, sleepers, breakouts, bust, and so much more. And even your keepers are probably locking soon. Your dynasty, players are, probably locking soon. We can answer all those questions for you specifically on Subtext. Link in bio if you're listening, watching, and it's available on any of our social media platforms. And today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can get $150 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. Download the app or head to FanDuel.com to get started today. And all right, we don't have too many of these left with Mock Draft Mondays, so, we're switching things up a little bit, giving you guys a little bit of a different look for, use that play in smaller format leagues. This is a 10-man league mock draft, 5x5 head-to-head categories, what Matt and I specialize in. And Matt, you were back in the hot seat today, so why don't you get us started, my brother?
Yep, and as per request is the 10-man league. I'm picking out of the 5-hole. And quite honestly, the reason why we do the bigger leagues and the mock drafts are due to the fact that it's a little bit more stressful. The lineups look a little bit thinner. So when you come to, you've now done that exercise where, okay, you really got to be selective and be on point. You get into the 10-man leagues and you just realize how much depth is there. And then you could really, pretty much have the draft go in slow motion for you, like when everything kind of lines up, like you go from playing on hard mode to easy mode. And it's really nice that way. So like I recommend, even if you're playing a 12-man league, drafting a 14-man league, and then you'll be ready for that 12-man league, so on and so forth. So let's roll. All right. So I'm going to pull up my team and I'll start breaking it down. So here we go. Interesting. Wrong one. There we go. So, I was picking out of the 5-hole in this 10-man league, and, it was an interesting draft. Top three are pretty much the same. It was interesting, though, that Ellie De La Cruz went 4 overall. Just a note with that spring, his ADP is climbing. I'm not mad at it at all, but I started off with Juan Soto at pick 5, and this was the most interesting strategy I've done in terms of a mock this year. I triple tapped outfield, which I normally don't do. You'll see me get 2 outfielders in the top 3 picks or top 4 picks. This time I literally went first 3 picks outfield, and that's why my outfield looks so loaded. Start off with Juan Soto, then Yordan Alvarez, and then Ronald Acuña Jr. Just 1, 2, 3 punch, stellar start. And even though Acuna is probably going to miss the first 3 weeks of the month of the season, he's going to be great when he comes back. I may not have the power, but, based off a track record, I'm going to have stolen bases out the wazoo, so I'm all good about that. Now, after that, I was like, okay, even though I haven't touched a single infielder, I need to go and get a pitcher. So I scooped up Cole Ragans, and I feel like I nailed it. Swung back around again, and then I'm like, all right, I'm going to grab my first infielder. I got Ozzie Albies in a 10-man league, in the 5th round. For Ozzie Albies to be there is pretty stellar. And, a 12-man league, he's gone 3rd, 4th round. So this was nice. Allowed me to really get a good team and a good flow going. Then I'm like, all right, let's turn it around. Let's get another pitcher. I got Shota Imanaga from the Cubs. I was like, damn, what a nice 1-2 punch, right? And something I normally don't do either, but I'm forgetting I'm in the 7th now that there's less picks. I went and I got Mason Miller as my first RP, and my team is actually looking real nice at this point, because then I follow it up with Junior Caminero in the 8th, who's having one of the most monstrous springs I've seen from a guy doing everything I expect him to do. I think that this is going to be a special season. And the fact that I'm in a 10-man league allows me to take that risk a little bit too. In a 12-man league, I may not take that shot, just because, the depth, there won't be as much availability at the position in the off waivers versus a 10-man league. So I wanted in this kind of format, I'm going to take that shot. Then after Caminero, I pretty much just went ham. Luis Castillo and Tanner Bibee double tapped right back to back pitchers. I got a stellar 1, 2, 3, 4 punch. It's just, it blows my mind. Then I went out and I got my first baseman of Vinny Pasquantino, then Tovar. So my infield is done. Now it's just, okay, let's just start working on it. Got Jeff Hoffman as my RP2, stellar. Then I was like, all right, Acuna is going to be out. I haven't gotten an outfielder since the third pick. It's now round 14. It's time to dip my toes back in. Dylan Cruz sitting around 14. Oh, what a pick. Then slapped it around again. Sandy Alcantara was having a great spring, looking like his old self as literally my pitcher 5. Cannot ask for more. Then round 16, Tyler O'Neill. Got another outfielder just for depth. Like, you can never have enough outfielders, guys that are going to contribute, in my opinion. The depth at that position, especially since you have to start 3, is key. So those are my 2 UT spots between Dylan Cruz and Tyler O'Neill. Then I scooped up Shane Baz as my pitcher 6. Like, how you doing? Honestly, the staff is stellar, in my opinion. Then Jason Dominguez, and Spencer Aretti, the Yeti himself, in round 19. Then Josh Young in the 20th, backup third baseman. Then Walker Buehler. And then I couldn't pass on this to get one of my favorite closers that is being super overlooked this year, Liam Hendricks of the Boston Red Sox. And then, of course, which I did not update on the thing, which I will at some point, is it's not Sean Murphy if you're watching on the tubes. It's also Austin Wells. He is my last guy here. And quite honestly, I ended up with a really solid team, in my opinion. The double tapping of the triple tapping of the outfield truly, I feel like, started me off into a really, really, stellar start, in all honesty. I would have never really thought it, but I mean, what, when I double tapped, I've done a lot. But when I saw that Ozzie Albies fell to the third, I couldn't pass on that. So how this team turned out was beyond my expectations, in my opinion. Quite honestly, I'm not being cocky here. I straight up think I'm giving myself an A. I think the team is just so good that there is not a category I'm missing out on. I have saves. I definitely have stolen bases between Acuna, Tovar, and even Albies is going to get some in there. There is just a lot of people that are going to contribute. Then I got power between the Juan Sotos, the Yordan Alvarez's, the Camineros, the Pasquantinos. Even Austin Wells could chip in. Ozzie Albies is probably good for 20, 25. More like 25 and with the upside of 30. And then, good luck facing me in case and ERA and wins. I don't foresee a team that's going to be able to challenge me in any of that, in all honesty. And then the depth. I mean, even my UTs are still, I got more power there in Tyler O'Neill. And I forgot about Dylan Cruz, who has the potential to steal so many bags. The team is very well rounded, and the depth at outfield is key. And I think that I put myself in the right position to win this year with this team going into the season. So, well done to me. I'm going to give myself a nice pat on the back. And at any point in time, these guys are going to go off. It's just going to be fun. Before I let Dom come in and critique my perfect team, we'll be right back after this.
And folks, March Madness is finally here, and FanDuel is giving you the chance to get in on the action like never before. Right now, new customers can get $200 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. That's $200 extra bucks to use on everything from beaters to Cinderella stories and even who's cutting down the nets. And guys, I'm going to tell you why I love using FanDuel for March Madness specifically. When I'm picking my favorites, whoever I've got my eye on, a couple underdogs to be specific, FanDuel makes it super easy to back them with their spreads, totals, and game props. I can always stay in on the action with tournament games happening almost every every day. There's always something super exciting to bet on. And guys, it's super easy and fast. The FanDuel app, it's super simple to use. And when I win, I get paid instantly. There's no waiting around. Guys, with March Madness, not a super big college hoops, guys, but easy. I always got to get in on the action this time of year. And what I do is I just visit FanDuel.com and I get in on the college hoops action all tournament long. And you guys need to as well. And then, all right, guys, I told you up top, I'm going to mention it again. You guys need to get on the Locked On Fantasy Baseball Diamond Club on the Subtext platform. Guys, it's going to be your secret weapon come draft day. You're going to have Matt and I's rankings, sleepers, breakouts, bust right in your pocket with you on your phone. And guess what? If you need help with your keeper, dynasty, anything like that, you can ask us questions. And once again, those text messages going right to your phone are going to be key. So you guys are going to want to make sure you join the Diamond Club on the Subtext platform. The link is available in the bio if you're listening or watching, and it's going to be the path to where your victories begin. And if you subscribe now, Matt and I are going to elevate your fantasy baseball experience to a new level. So join us on Subtext today. And all right, Matt, any last thoughts, comments, concerns?
So I have two things. One, you need to join Subtext if you also want to get in that listener league. It's the only way you're going to get in. And then after you've joined that, then you can share all the posts and get extra entries. Then I have some breaking news. Probably the worst news. You probably saw my reaction during the whole ad.
Uh-oh, I didn't see this. I was reading an ad.
Gerrit Cole to have Tommy John.
Oof. Yeah, he looked really bad. I'll say this. I watched his start the other day against the Twins. He gave up a bunch of homers. I think it was 6 earned runs. It really did look bad. And I will say he looked off the whole game. I saw him shaking, and then after the game, they came out and said that there was imaging and stuff coming. So tough day for us Yankee fans. Tough day for anybody who has Garrett Cole in their keeper or dynasty leagues. That's going to hurt. But we're here to make adjustments, right? That's what we do on, these episodes. We're here to be with you guys and kind of help get you guys over the hump. We'll probably do a little bit of an injury breakdown at some point in the next week or so, kind of give you guys, a little bit of update on what's been going on around the league. But other than that, Matt, even with the sad breaking news of Garrett Cole going down, might be some other pitchers. Kirby's hurt. Grayson Rodriguez is hurt. Mentioned those up top too. But yeah, back into mock draft mode. Matt, any thoughts on the team before I jump in and give my thoughts here?
So my last thing is, Dom, no matter what you say, I'm so good at words can't keep me down. No. But yeah, go for it, bro.
No, I will start off saying this is a good team. Matt, you did a good job building here. I like the 3 outfielders up top. Honestly, I love how that team construction worked out for you. It looks really good. That Soto, Acuna, Alvarez is going to be hard to play with once Acuna gets rocking and rolling and really doing his thing. It's going to be really hard to deal with that outfield. The rest of the infield the rest of the bats look good too. I love the infield. The pass squash you got there at first. You got Ozzie Albies over there at second doing his thing. I think he's going to have a nice bounce back here with the Braves. I feel like we talked about him not too long ago. Ezekiel Tovar could be one of the biggest. He broke out a little bit last year, but I think there's another level to Tovar. Matt, you talked about the speed. I hope it comes through fruition this year because he showed off the speed in the minors. He has a good sprint speed. So, he only sold 6 bags last year, but there's another level to that man's game. And then Caminero, we've talked about him to, nauseum at this time, so I'm not going to waste the time. But, hey, man, he's another guy. Big, young, breakout. I think headed Caminero's way. Austin Wells behind the plate. Going to do well there. Your utilities. This is where I have a little bit of a gripe with the team. I know Acuna is going to be out a little bit, but you went with your next 3 bats after you filled out your team. You went 3 outfielders. I might have went 2. I like the idea of, we got to back up Acuna, but to get a guy like Dylan Cruz as your first utility bat, great young outfielder, I think he slips in, could be a great outfielder 3, even a good outfielder 2 if things really take off for him. I love Jason Dominguez too. That's where I might have played the maybe only take one of those 2 guys. The 2 young studs, kind of similar type players. Maybe Jason's got a little more power. Cruz got a little bit more speed. I think Cruz fits this team a little bit better. Not that Jason doesn't, but I probably would have taken Swiss Army knife guy that kind of maybe plays second short, because he did wind up getting Josh Young later, who we love, to back up Caminero at third. So I think that's the only gripe with my bats, and it's not even a big one. That's just like a little change I might have made, looking back on it. Hindsight's always 2020, though. With the rotation, I like it. Ragans up top. I love me some Cole Ragans. I got him in a couple of my keeper leagues. I think he's going to have a monster year. Imanaga, I'm not a huge Imanaga guy. I'm a little bit lower than consensus on Imanaga, but I've been turning the corner on him. I like him. It's got good potential there. I think the ERA might be a little bit higher than last year, but still definitely a decent SP2. But then here's the thing is you took Luis Castillo, and I think you could swap them out. If you put Castillo as the 2, Imanaga as the 3, I love it, so that's fine with me. Then we have Bibee. Love Bibee this year. Bibee could be one of those guys that, kind of with Ragans gets you, competitive in that strikeouts department. Love him. Sandy Alcantara, we know who he could be. He's looking good so far this spring training. He's out there pitching, doing his thing. No setbacks so far with him. Love that. Oz as the 6. Oz, young pitcher. I love him. Aretti, the Yeti over there in Houston. Another, good starting pitcher there. And then you took Walker Buehler. First time we see a Walker Buehler sighting in the mock draft. So, he's been spectacular so far this spring training, looking pretty good. Could be a bounce back there for Walker Buehler. I do like the rotation too. A good mix of some solid guys that we know who they are in the Castillos. You got the upside of the Bibee and Imanaga. You take Ragans, who's one of the best pitchers in the game right now. It's definitely a solid rotation. You go into your closers, the Mason Miller, Jeff Hoffman combo. Love it. Hendricks, I think we've been the opposite ways of the spectrum on this one. Boston hasn't officially announced who their closer is going to be. I think they basically have been saying it's going to come down to spring training. The big thing is they've both been pitching like butt. Hendricks has been pitching horribly, and Chapman has not been pitching much better. I think there's an outside chance that maybe Garrett Whitlock or, I forget who, Slayton, the kid Slayton's pretty good too. He's got good stuff. So I'm going to be intrigued to see what Boston does with their rotation. But as a whole, Matt, you did a great job. I'm going to give you I'll give you a B plus A minus here. I think it's a solid job. Like I said, little tweaks I think would have put this team over the top, but it's a strong team. People are going to have a hard time keeping up with this team. Those 3 outfielders are top notch. The infield looks fantastic. I like the rotation. You got a good mix of, like I said, stability plus upside. So I think this team is really going to work out, and it's a good way to show the fans, hey, listen, doing a 10-man league, you draft like this, you're going to put yourself in a good position going into, opening day.
Yeah. I mean, it really wasn't as bad as you made it sound out to be that you're going to be able to rip apart this team because there's not many holes, man. Not many holes.
Hey, listen. This is what we do over here, so I got to at least try and make it sound like, he might have did a little something wrong.
Yeah. I mean, look, I could have went depth at a, an infield position, but the problem becomes, where I would have grabbed either, Dominguez or Cruz, which I still think are incredible values, right? Like the infield part is just not there. Like, okay, like it probably would have been, I would have stuck with Cruz at this point. Dominguez probably would have been the one that wasn't going to be picked. But like, I'm looking at what would have been there. What would I have picked? Luis Arias, Xavier Edwards, Brandon Lowe, maybe. Oh, Jackson Holiday.
I mean, a guy like Xavier Edwards who's got a little bit of speed might have fit this build, because like I said the same thing when I was breaking down your team. I would have kept Cruz for the speed. Jason's got a little bit of speed, but you necessarily don't. I don't think you need the third outfielder on the bench there. Well, not bench, but you got 2 utility outfielders, then Jason on the bench. Doesn't matter who you went with. I just would have went a speedy middle infield guy, maybe like a Michael Castillo. Even like I said, Xavier Edwards isn't horrible.
Yeah. Like, I mean, I didn't realize that I missed out on, Jackson Holiday. I think that would have been a nice player to have there. But even so, I mean, Dominguez's upside, if we can even see what he did in what was this now, 2023, that can be serious contribution. And that's like my first bench guy. You don't want to miss out on it. And even if he doesn't hit, in a 10-man league, I could find replacements. And that's the beauty of this. Right? Like, I'm going to take my big swings, and I took them. My pitching is super safe and strong. I was actually able to take a big swing with Walker Buehler, which watched the bounce back episode, and we really break him down. But man, what he's shown in spring is showing all signs point to, hey, I'm not done. And he's one of my favorite pitchers that have come up over the last 5 years. So if I can get any sense of him, it's going to be fun. And yes, Liam Hendricks will have the job. by all means. And even if he doesn't, I could probably still go get the guy that's going to get the job. Oh, so regardless of the fact, I'm going to have my third closer, and it's going to be so much fun. But to have these three on a team, and with Liam Hendricks' upside, if and when he gets the job, just the potentials of saves is just outrageous. I'm going to ask you what my.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I'm going to ask for your input and your ranking on the other side of this. So, Dom, tell me, what are you ranking me? What are we doing?
Yeah, no, I think I was saying strong B plus, A minus, definitely for sure. I love it. The small couple tweaks would have put it over the top, but it's definitely, like I said, that's how you build a team. You don't have any major weaknesses. If the things that are we're talking about here are just, you might need a middle infielder that's speedy, or maybe you need a third closer, stuff like that's all correctable. Stuff like that, you're not losing your draft by making things like that happen. Those are things you take care of on the waiver wire the first couple of weeks, as long as you're paying attention. You don't want to go in with like a couple holes in your middle infield, or your starting pitching is questionable. That's where it's going to be harder to correct those mistakes. If you leave yourself little things to correct, that's where you're going to be fine. And then Matt, you even, like you said, we talked with Jason Dominguez. If he comes out the gate swinging, there's a world where, hey, you know what, you could trade him for a closer and maybe like the speedy middle infielder you need, and then you're in a spot where you're absolutely fine. You play to the strengths. And then in the draft, I'll say this, Matt, you make the point very well. And I think that's basically what you're trying to say. A lot of the time, you do want to take the most talented player that's available, according to whatever your opinion is. And taking a Jason Dominguez over, Xavier Edwards, because Jason Dominguez is more talented than Xavier Edwards, it makes sense. And I do see that. So sometimes you want to play into your strengths, kind of almost what I did in my last mock draft, where I kind of just played into what was working for me and my team. Kind of didn't take a lot of speed in that draft either, but hey, still worked out to be a pretty good team. And Matt, this winds up being like a really, really solid team going into, opening day. And you definitely did not lose your draft. You actually did a strong job at putting yourself in a position to be one of the top teams, across the whole season, to be honest.
Well, thank you. And, I feel like a lot of people too get hung up on, positional depth that, at like, okay, I got to get like either, a Swiss Army knife kind of guy, or, I got to have a backup for both my infield and my outfield. You do, but you don't, right? Like, you could fill that if an injury happens, or if anything with waivers in any size league. What you want to do is just have the most talent, because talent is what's going to win your season. It's not going to be the depth at the positions, because they still need to perform. And if they're not going to perform as well as a guy that was more talented that you chose to pass to get the depth, that's where you lose, and that's where you miss out on these big swings, because there's a world and a way where one of these guys that are up here either doesn't perform up to expectation in my outfield, or even an injury comes through, which, since I'm starting three of them, and quite honestly too, Yordan Alvarez has never really been a picture of health. Tyler O'Neill has never really been a picture of health. Those two instantly, then I needed that depth, and it kind of plays right into it. So it's just, yeah, I got depth at outfield, but at the same time, I picked the most talented players on the board, and talent always does it. You will never lose or feel bad about a pick when you pick the best player on the board. And that's how you got to approach, especially this late in the draft.
Yeah, no, I agree. And I'll say this: the shallower the league, the more that strategy applies, because the replacement level player on the waiver wire in a 10-man league is going to be way better than a 12, 14-man. The deeper that you go, so you can take those swings. Once you get 10-man, anything lighter than that, you definitely want to take those bigger swings in those kinds of leagues. I will say this: if you play in like an AL or NL only, or a 15-man. That's where you probably want to play it a little bit more safe, because, hey, you're going to go look on the waiver wire. Oh, my second baseman got hurt. You're going to look on the waiver wire. There's going to be absolutely nothing. So I agree exactly what you said there, Matt. The shallower the league, you're going to want to take those bigger swings. The deeper the league you get, you probably want to play a little bit more conservative. But I do love the team. We didn't really talk much about Josh Young. He's a great guy at the end of the, your bench there. It's going to provide you with a lot of power. Love Josh Young, what he could bring to the table this year. I think the Yeti Arrighetti, we didn't talk about him too much too. He's got big strikeout upside in that, big park in Houston over there. Just a solid team, man. A lot of guys I like here. A lot of good big names. You did a solid job. And then the pass watch too. I think the pass watch, Vinny P at first base is going to have a big breakout year too. I feel like we talked about him so much last year, but I feel like we haven't talked about him too much this year.
Yeah, facts. And that second half was great leading up to the injury. So I'm all about it this year. But you know what? As much as we love, and I love hearing how wonderful I do, since we have some time, I think we could dive back in on the Gerrit Cole, what to do in dynasty leagues, what to do in
I love
leagues.
that. That's a great idea.
So my first reaction is one, I'm devastated. Not as a Yankee, not even just as a Yankee fan, but as a fantasy baseball owner, right? If I have him in a dynasty league or I have him in a keeper leagues, right? Where you're only keeping like anywhere from like 5 to 8 guys, right? Or even 10 at this matter. He's not going to pitch for a year and a half. He's a drop it like he's hot. Okay. In a dynasty league, you hold him for a bit, and then the second you need a little bit of depth and you're in a position to win, or you think that you're going to be able to, get yourself in a position where I'm just going to do this too, where, you can, what do you call it? Improve your team. That's when you move him. He's an older dude. I don't remember his age, but I think he's in his mid 30s.
He's 30. He's going to be 34 this year, so we won't probably see him until he's 36.
Right. And that, really doesn't bode well. At this point, you could move on to him. People are going to forget that part of it and be like, oh, yeah, I'm getting Garrett Cole. I just got to be a little patient, and I'll have him halfway through the season, and, I can win for next year, like that is it. And then you can kind of sell off and get some stuff back in return. Not as high end as if he was healthy, but still something that you could do. It's a move. But yeah, that's at least how I'm going to handle the situation. He may never be right again, in all honesty.
Yeah, this is a tough one, Matt. You kind of hit the nail on the head with the sense that, he's going to be 36 by the next time we see him healthy out on a mound. He might be okay, but there's not much actionable. Trade him in Dynasty if you can. You're probably not going to be able to get much for him, but take what you could get, because even in a Dynasty type format, I play in a Dynasty league. My idea is still I want to win every year. So, you kind of want to maximize what you have going in each year. And a guy that's not going to give you anything until 2026, I'd probably take whatever assets I can get for him, whether it's draft picks or, whatever it may be. I'd take what I can get, even if it's 25 cents on the dollar at this point, because, the dollar of Garrett Cole is going to look a lot different by the time he comes back from injury. Velocity probably be down. I think it's kind of get him out of here type moment, and then obviously you not draftable this year. So Garrett Cole, it stinks to be a Yankee fan right now. But hey, man, it is what it is. We just got to deal with it. Kind of roll with the punches the best we can. Matt, I don't know if we have anything pulled up, but we could kind of talk about it a smidge little bit. I'll pull it up as we talk about it. Maybe you can pull it up as I start talking about it. George Kirby, another guy, start the season on the IL. Believe it was a shoulder issue, right, Matt? Correct me if I'm wrong. Shoulder issue for Kirby. Wasn't feeling right during his spring training outings. Velocity and everything looked good. MRIs and x-rays came back clean, nothing structural. But if they're starting him on the IL, there's something there that we probably don't know that they're not letting out. Because if they're saying, hey, nothing structural, nothing broken, and he's still starting the season on the IL, I don't like the outlook of that. I'll say I'm probably moving him down at least 10 to 15 spots in my starting pitcher rankings, if not more. I know I had him at I want to say SP 16. So if he falls outside the top 30, I wouldn't be shocked. It's just going to be tough. I'll put him near like a Spencer Strider, who's expected to miss the first month. And I think I have Strider in my late 20s. So I think Kirby winds up around there for now. Probably not somebody I'm targeting anymore. Maybe if he falls, people worried about the injury, you grab him as like your SP3. That might be okay. But then again, I hate drafting pitchers going into the season injured. It hardly ever works out. I like drafting pitchers like the Alcantaras, the guys that are recovered from the injury, that they're back out there, the McClanahans. The guys like that are more enticing to me. The guys that are just going in banged up, I feel like, especially over the last 2-3 years, hardly any of them have worked out.
Yeah, I mean, the positive note is there's no strain being said, right? Like, I just read the injury report. It's still no other news. The MRI came back good and clean. And like Dom said, there's no structural damage, which is great. But it's just inflammation. And this all could just be tendonitis. And once he works through it, it's good. There's some positives to this too. It's not all doom and gloom. I don't know if I'm, plummeting him down. I think, if there's a world where I can get him as an SP3, that's where I'm going to do it. He's definitely still in my top 36. I'm going to take that swing on him. The only thing is, with an injury like this in the shoulder, as long as I don't hear a major teres strain, then I'm going to be okay with it. I hear major teres develop over the next couple weeks, and that's what they kind of label the injury. I'm out. I'm done. He's not undraftable for me. Look what he did with Tristan McKenzie. Look what he did to Nestor. Look at did to Carlos Rodon.
Verlander.
Right. Verlander. It literally depleted everything that was anything valuable and performance-wise. So we just got to keep out and see what they label the injury still. We're still too early to know. I think they're still trying to figure out what it is. Because if they had something, they can't hide it from the public. So, we'll find out very soon. So right now, this is still impending. He's going to fall in the rankings for now, but still be somebody I'm targeting in drafts until I hear otherwise. Sorry. So, Tom, if you have nothing else, I'm going to get us out of here. All right, cool. So, guys, please like, subscribe, comment, rate, review, do everything you can to share this podcast. And if you want a shot in that listener league, join us on Subtext. And then after that, then you just share every single one of our posts that we post on X, Twitter, or whatever you call it, Insta, everywhere there. And then you will 100% have an extra entry for every time you do it. And I post a lot. There's like 5 or 6 times a day you'll have a chance to get an extra entry. There's 11 spots to give away, so it's out there. So check us out. And when you're done, check out our boy Sully over at Locked On MLB, and he'll give you all the great spring training coverage you want. That, guys, have a great rest of your day.
See ya.
Peace.